to do this position.
I think it is too.
All right. Okay, this is Phil Simborg with the USBGF, and I've got Stick with me to help understand cube action and these kinds of plays. This is what's called a containment position, where red was in big trouble and got lucky, hit a shot, and now he's gotten around pretty far and done pretty well. And the question is, should he be recubing here? And if he redoubles, should blue take or pass? So before Stick gives his analysis, why don't you take a couple of seconds, and if you want to, you can pause this video and see what you think, and then let's see how Stick approaches this over the board. Okay, I'm assuming that you paused the recording and you're back now. Stick, how do you just decide whether or not you should double and whether or not blue can take?
All right. Well, going into this, we hopefully know a few reference positions. The first couple reference positions that we need to know are how often blue would win here if red had a closed board and perfect distribution and he had 4 checkers off, just like this. So blue wins here basically 15.5% of the time.
You're way off. 15.6.
Well, click, left click on that, see if it goes anywhere. Up on the box. There you go, you're closer now.
Okay, so what just happened when we left click?
The first box is left click again. That's the winning chances for a no double. And if you click it, that's the winning chances for double in the guide tilt.
So if blue is holding the cube here, he would win 15.2, and if red is holding the cube, he would win more.
If blue was,
blue is
right.
Why would blue win more when red is holding the cube?
No, blue would win less.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so this position you should know is 15.5%. Just like with 5 men off, it's a borderline take pass decision if it's the same crunched board scenario.
There it is, borderline take pass.
So knowing that from our original position, if you can go back to that. So from here, we have to have a little bit of a look ahead. Obviously, we know that if we make the point, we basically lose our market. The thing is in this position, though, is how red is going to bear in after that. Because we may make the point, but our spares definitely aren't going to end up on the highest points. And if you haven't done any homework, you don't know how much that's going to affect the position. Because the deeper they go, obviously, the slower we're going to bear off, and also the quicker we're going to open up our board as red. And we obviously don't want to open up our board right away because then blue gets in quicker, and his crunch board's pretty nice if he can get around quickly.
So you're saying that in the perfect position, blue has a pass here, but if red doesn't have a great bear off, blue would have a take here.
Right. Yeah. This is something I think a lot of people would get wrong. Okay, so that's borderline. Stack a spare up somewhere. There you go.
Huge difference with a stack. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I mean, pushing those spares deeper, you can see now you're going to have to open the board immediately with 6s and 5s, and that's a big part of it. So that blue's going to be able to get in a lot quicker when red doesn't have as many men off, and that's what's going to happen a lot of the time from our original position. We have a lot of covers. You know, if we've got plenty of covers here.
Yeah, but if we roll a 5-3, 6-3, 6-4, any high numbers, we're immediately throwing checkers down low.
Yeah. We're throwing checkers low, and we're going to lose our market even when we do that and cover, but we're not losing it by, I mean, we're losing it by a fair amount, but not just by a ton. You know, it'll probably be like 80-81% or something in those situations.
You just gave me the answer as far as whether or not it's a take. Obviously, blue has to have a take here.
Yeah, with numbers that don't cover for sure.
Yeah, because some numbers don't cover, and even if he covers, blue could still be in a position where he might have a take, or it could be very close, even after red covers.
Yep.
So it's a big time take. How do you know if it's a double or not?
Throw up your arms, hope for the best. It's tough to know if this is a double or not. Honestly, I would have cubed this over the board if for nothing else. I'm not sure everyone will take this. But this is tough because you've got, obviously you can count up the number of covers you got. then you have to subtract off really the bad rolls as far as market losing sequences. Anything that doesn't cover is basically a terrible roll. So if you just go through and try and count your market losers, everything that covers is a market loser. Yeah, you just go to dice distribution.
Let's cheat. We know that these are all the rolls that cover, and these are all the rolls that don't cover. But some of them, some of them lift. And I would think you do. That's the other thing we need to know is: are you lifting with a 6-1? Are you lifting with a 6-2 and 5-2?
Well, even if you lift, you don't lose your market, so it doesn't really matter.
Uh-huh.
So that's 12 rolls that aren't market losers. So if you counted the other rolls as like 23.5, and then subtracted the 12, that's only going to give you around 11 market losers. Now, for a centered cube, that would be okay, but for a recube, you can't use O'Hagan's law that way.
Okay, O'Hagan's law says that an initial cube for money, you need 9 market losers, generally, depending on how much you lose your market by and how the other rolls look. But for a recube, you probably need more because you're giving up the exclusive use of the cube.
Right. I've wildly estimated around 12 market losers, but that's no serious work. That's just a wild estimation for under the same situation. So here, if we have around 11 or 11.5, I mean, it kind of makes sense that it's going to be somewhat close.
So one more builder.
Yeah, for sure.
Takes to a small redouble. Even with one more builder, it's only a very small redouble. So I think the real key to understanding this was, number one, you had to know those reference positions. Albert Einstein wouldn't know without some study what percentage of the time 4 off wins and 5 off wins, and whether or not you win or lose with checkers high and low. You have to do your homework and know these reference positions to start with so that you can make some interpolations and guessing. But as soon as you figured out that blue has a big take, and that even after red closes the board, there are positions where he still has a take, that's a pretty strong indication that you're not likely to lose your market that much or that, and even if you lose your market, you don't lose it by a whole lot to where that's a good reason to hold off on the cube. Now, Stick brought up another point, though, that's very important. All of this assumes you're playing a player that will never make a mistake, and Stick says he would whip this cube in a minute because so many people would pass this cube, and even if it's wrong to double, let's go back to the position that's wrong to double, Extreme Gammon gives us a number for that. It says that if you get a drop 15% of the time, it's well worth making a 5% error, technical error, to give the cube. And you're not going to get a drop 15% of the time if you're playing Stick, or if you're playing Mochi or one of the top players in the world, but you might get a drop 15% of the time if you're playing Phil Simborg or a player of lesser quality. So you shoot the cube out and you hope he makes a mistake and drops, and if he takes, how bad are you? You're still 73%. It's not the end of the world when he takes. So the human factor comes into play. And by the way, this is one of the problems I really have with that dual competition that they run. If I'm playing in a dual and I'm trying to win because I have the best PR and I'm also trying to win the match, here's a good example of where the two fight each other. Which one do you play for here? You're either going to give up some equity by giving a wrong cube, or you're going to give up some match winning by not taking a chance on getting a drop from a human being that might drop this cube. By the way, if I'm playing a really strong player here, he's even more likely to drop this cube against me because he doesn't want to have a 4 cube against me. In a match, he wants to try to extend the game. So I'm even more likely to get a mistake from a really good player, even though it's a 22% error to drop this cube. It could happen very easily because of his feelings of superiority.
And if you are playing a better player, your double wouldn't be wrong. So you shouldn't be.
Yeah, my double would be right because this is a no-brainer position with no skill, and I want the cube up as high as possible.
Exactly. So you get knocked that direction too, unfortunately.
But maybe I'm wrong, Stick. You don't know any really good players with big egos, do you?
No, I haven't met any.
No, they're all very, very modest in easy regard.
Nobody overestimates their game.
For the analysis, the biggest lesson here is you've got to start with the reference positions. And just to show you how much I believe in what Stick's doing, let me just show you a file that I'm developing. It's a file called 5 off, and it's really 5 off and 4 off. I just made these into reference positions. Here's my opponent has 5 off, and I have 20 covers, and my opponent has 32%. I had no idea it was that high. Why do I want to know the percentage? This is 20 covers with 32%. I need to know this not just for money games, but in match play. Whether or not this is a take it, two-away, where your take points about 32%. And this is a take at lots of scores. It's not a take at some recube scores where your take point is 40%. So knowing the percentage is really important. And again, without making this into reference positions, you'll have no clue how to figure this out over the board, what percentage of the time. Let me go one step further. Here's 27 covers instead of 32%. He's got 30.5%. So again, it's not that hard for me to memorize those numbers. That 27 covers equates to 30.5% with 5 checkers off. And then with a little bit of work, I can figure out what his odds are with 4 checkers off and 6 checkers off. And what if I have the 4-point open instead of the 5-point open? You can do some interpolations once you have that basis to start with. And you're not going to be that far off when you're guessing. All I want to do is get in the ballpark. So I think the biggest lesson we learned from Stick is you better have some reference positions, and you need to study these if you hope to have any chance to get these right. Anything else to add on this, Stick?
Nope, more reference positions, the better, always.
Okay, well, that's why, is it Michi that has 7,000 reference positions and he does 70 a day?
I've been told he has a ton of them and does them. I don't know how many.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's myth, legend, or actuality. But
yeah. Well, I do know
have too many.
I do know that Francois has 1,200 of them that he used to have actually hard copy that he used to take with him and study before every tournament. So learning reference positions is one of the reasons why the good players are going to come a lot closer in these kinds of positions instead of just pure guesswork. Thank you, Stick, for your time. I appreciate the help, and we'll be posting more videos soon. Okay, let's